All right. Hello, Mr. Donnelly. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. It's a beautiful fall day in Danville. I should be. Right?
All right. Great to hear. I'll start with introductions. My name is Matthew. It's a pleasure to meet you. Right
Uh-huh.
now, I'm in high school. I'm a sophomore and I'm 16, and I go to Monte Vista High School.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
All
Maya
right.
or Misha?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Amaya Goshal. I'm a senior and I also go to Monte Vista and I am 17 years old.
Okay.
I'm Misha and I go to California High School and I'm a senior as well and I'm also 17.
Okay.
Um, so I think we can just start off with the questions. First question, where were you born?
I was born in Huntington Park, California.
Have you visited there since like you've been born there, after you've been born?
Um, oh yeah, I grew up in Southern California
Oh,
and moved to the Bay Area first time in 1978, and then came back in 1989 and stayed here since.
Mr. Donnelly, in your childhood, or do you have any siblings that you grew up with?
Yeah, I have a sister that's a year and a half older than I am. All right. And I'm still in contact with her. I typically, I FaceTime her every weekend. She lives in Northwest Arkansas. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yeah.
we're all
If
right.
you can hear me, put your thumb up.
Yeah, we can hear you good,
Okay,
Mr.
okay, okay. All right. Okay.
So just wondering, Mr. Donnelly, as a high schooler myself, I know you said that you grew up in Southern California. How did you like high school growing up?
Oh, good and bad. Good and bad. I went to a I guess you can call it a working class mixed race high school in North Long Beach. Um, had good friends, followed one of them into the Marine Corps. But in truth, I haven't seen anybody from high school in probably 40 years. So uh, it gave me a good education. That was the most important part.
How would
Uh,
you, oh, sorry.
oh no, please go ahead,
Oh,
Maya.
I was gonna ask like how do you compare living in Southern California to like now living in the Bay Area? Like which parts do you like better from Southern California or from the Bay Area?
Obviously I'm living in the Bay Area for a reason. I like it up here. I in New Year's between 1962 and 1963, I was in the Marine Corps, and a friend of mine, we came up here to spend the break between Christmas and New Year's with his cousins in Marin. And New Year's Eve, I was on top of a cable car singing Christmas carols with a dumped Christmas tree with a whole bunch of other people. I want to live here someday. Well, it took me until 1978 to first move up here, and then I left in 1980 for what was supposed to be a 3-year assignment in Denmark, and it took me until 1989 to get back here. What I like about here, it's even though the traffic's bad here, it's not as bad as Southern California. Um, there's a sense of seasons here. All right, I have beautiful trees in my yard. I've got maples. I've got pistachios that are just gorgeous in the fall, and I love that. So Southern California doesn't have that. And grew up in the 50s in Southern California, where you never really saw much blue sky. It was so smoggy.
Hmm. Did
So I
you,
really like it up here. Yes?
was your, or sorry, go ahead.
No? Please?
No, oh, sorry. I was just saying, since you said you went to like your high school was near Long Beach, did you get to go to the beach a lot, or was it like
Oh yeah,
Um,
I was
yeah.
I was a surf bum for a while. Only was big surfboards. Mine was an 8-9 board, which today was that's a monster board. Then it was a small board. But I surfed out. I spent a lot of time in high school going to the beach during the summer. Yeah,
Were you a pretty good surfer, Mr. Donnelly?
I was an okay surfer. You know, uh, I mean, not a maverick. So I would surf Huntington Beach, and that would be maybe 8 foot surf on a good day. So yeah,
Did you do any other sports during high school or college other than surfing?
I played football in high school. I lost my first tooth playing football in high school. Played 8-man football in the Marine Corps, and played flag football and a lot of handball when I was going to college. So,
Uh,
so, oh, sorry. You
oh,
can go.
Go ahead, Misha. Don't worry.
Okay. So what are some of your other hobbies, other than like sports? Like, what are some things that you like to do?
oh, I'm an avid fisherman. All right,
Right.
and I've fished in Alaska, a lot of states in South America, in Europe. So I really enjoy freshwater fishing. Um, I practice qigong and tai chi. I also practice and teach a cane self-defense course. All right. So and I walk in my beautiful neighborhood. You know.
That
Those are
sounds
really unique. Yeah.
that sounds pretty lovely. Mr.
Yeah.
Donnelly, you had mentioned that you had joined the Marine Corps when you were younger, and I was just wondering what exactly compelled you to join?
Uh, I went to semester college. Went to Long Beach City College. Broke up with my girlfriend. Wasn't really happy with school, and my best buddy had joined the Marine Corps months before. So I said, "What the hell? I'll join the Marine Corps." And went in for 3 years. Got out a month early to go back to school. And while this is during the Vietnam time, where everybody's worried about the draft and what their lottery number was, I was collecting the GI Bill and going to school. But the most important thing is the Marine Corps taught me. I grew up. I grew up a lot. I became much more responsible, a lot more self-disciplined. So, yeah. So that was one of the turning points of my life.
What would you say is your like favorite subject in high school or when you were in college?
I'm a chemist, science. All right, I'm a chemist by education and an environmental professional by occupation. So, all right. So, any particular, yeah, chemistry is so broad. I mean, I enjoyed everything but PChem. Physical chemistry drove me nuts. That was the hardest courses I ever took in college. All right.
I will agree with you, Mr. Donnelly, because currently I'm enrolled in the honors chemistry class at Monte Vista, and it's very interesting, but it is very difficult. And I will say I'm very impressed that you're a chemist.
Yeah, my sister
Thank you.
just finished, like, goes to UCSB, and she just finished her last OChem course, and she was so happy because she was like struggling so much. But yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you what, just some advice for you. I put down, I think I was a past chair of the Golden West section or Air Waste Management Association. We gave out scholarships every year. Scholarships to a lot of people at Berkeley and Stanford and both SF and San Jose State. And one of the things I tell them that when they're looking is, whatever you do, find something that differentiates you, something that's special for you, whether it's singing, whether it's dancing, whether it's sport, whether it's doing good deeds, something that you can really be proud of that you put in when you put into college applications. that reflects you. And
True.
I'm a firm believer. Years ago I saw a lecture by the Dalai Lama, and one of the people then things said, you know, how do you be happy? And the Dalai Lama said, if you want to be happy, help someone. That's all. It works. I just gave a 100-year-old woman a ride to the doctor and back. Boy, does that make me feel good. You know? So just those are little bits, my tidbits on life, right? I could go a lot more. When I was a kid, I had a cousin that married a gentleman that worked for the U.S. Agency for International Development. And they were stationed in Thailand and Ceylon and in Vietnam back before the wars in the 50s. And every time they come home, they'd bring home slides and goodies they brought from all these places. And when I was about 12 years old, I said, I want to do that someday. And guess what? I've lived in, and if you read my resume, I've lived in 6 different countries on 4 continents, and I've worked in over 30 countries in the world, and it's fantastic. So I'm very fortunate, you know, and I'm also fortunate to have a wife that's put up with me for 54 years, right? And a lot of moving. We moved 25 times in our first 25 years of marriage.
Wow.
So
I've moved a lot myself, but I've never moved to like a different country. I went to like 10 elementary schools, I think. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of crazy.
So
Yeah. What was your favorite, other than like the Bay Area, what was your favorite place to live?
outside of Copenhagen, Denmark.
Wow.
Beautiful country full of wonderful people with a social system that takes care of their people, and it's a system that really works. Put it this way, it works so well. My daughter is married to a Dane and lives outside of Copenhagen, Denmark, with my granddaughter. All right. So that was probably the best place outside the Bay Area we've ever lived.
Now, are you just wondering, are you bilingual? Did you pick up on some of the languages considering you've lived in so many different places?
Yeah, I speak probably strength Danish, the strongest, German. In order for me to get my degree in school, I had to have a reading knowledge of either scientific Russian or German. And I picked German. French and some Spanish. We lived in southern France for a while, and I actually taught Algerians in French in a chemistry lab. So,
Wow.
yeah, and then worked a lot. Well, I worked in let's see, Colombia, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Bolivia, and Peru in South America. So, and all but one of those speak Spanish. Do you know which one doesn't? Brazil. Brazil, they speak Portuguese. So, yeah. So.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's see. So nobody went to. My son went to both San Ramon Valley and Monte Vista on a split program. So, yeah. And he also joined the Marine Corps. He also dropped out of college, broke up with his girlfriend, dropped out of college, and joined the Marine Corps. All right. Unfortunately, he's now a disabled vet. So but he's going to Carroll College in Helena, Montana, to become a special ed teacher.
Wow.
So, yeah. What do you 3 want to do with your lives? Any ideas?
I've like wanted to be a doctor for a really, really long time, but I'm not sure like what type of doctor. Maybe even like a surgeon someday.
Wow, that's ambitious. You know, know your biology.
Yeah, definitely.
How about the other 2?
Well, I'm not exactly sure, but I think I do want to go into business or entrepreneurship or something in maybe finance. In college, I don't really know what I want to major in yet, but I'm thinking maybe either like economics or business or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. And last
Uh,
but not least,
as for me, I'm not too positive, but I think the direction I lean in revolves something around being a writer or a screenwriter or maybe even an author.
wow. Yeah. That's interesting since you're taking, chemistry. Right?
Yeah, I love writing and everything, but at the same time, I am really interested in STEM, and so I kind of like to get the best of
Yeah.
both worlds if I can.
Yeah. A couple of things. People often say, why was I able to do what I did and things like that. I remember, geez, January 4th of 1977, my boss at Bechtel Power in Norwalk, California came in and said, Jim, you remember when you filled out your application and there was a little spot that said you might be interested in working overseas? And I says, yeah. He says, well, we have a unique opportunity for a chemist at a liquefied natural gas plant in Algeria to train Algerians how to do the chemistry. And I said, wow. I said, let me go home and ask my wife. And he looked at me and was really surprised. And when I went home, and my wife and I, we got out the map and looked out where's Algeria, right? By the way, it's North Africa. And I went back the next day and said yes. And
Wow.
everybody was amazed. And I ended up having to transfer to Bechtel San Francisco, and then went to France, and then we went to Algeria, and then came back to San Francisco. And I was working in a research and engineering arm at Bechtel, which is a really big engineering construction company, by the way. And in 1980, a friend called me up and said, "Hey, come have lunch." And I says, "I can." He says, "Well, come have dinner." And he introduced me to this guy from Denmark, the head of a Danish company. And over dinner, he offered me a job in Denmark. I go, wow, let me go home and talk to my wife. And we picked up and moved to Denmark. So, and both times when I left, people said, wow, Jim, that's really neat. It's really lucky you can do that. I can't do it because. It was all their own being unwilling to make big changes. So be willing to reach for that brass ring as long as you got a good foundation, and I'm just a firm believer, the more people I meet all over the world and the different cultures, and it's one thing to go on on holiday, to go on a cruise or to go on a tour. It's another thing to work with people.
Mm.
Really, and it's just added so much to my life. So,
Well, that's really lovely that, oh, sorry, Mai. That's really lovely that you and your wife were willing to travel everywhere. Just wondering, how did you meet your wife?
oh, my wife and I went to the same, believe it or not, we went to the same high school. And we didn't know, when I came back to the Marine Corps and went back to Long Beach City College, I met her at Long Beach City College. And a year and a half later, we were married. And she didn't know what she was getting into. But when my son was going into ninth grade, we moved up here in '89, and I promised that I would stay here at least until he got out of high school, because I think it's really important to have the high school years in one place if possible. You build friendships that can last your life. But after that time, she dug her roots into the roots so long. She said, "I'm not leaving. If you want to, go work and send money home." So, but yeah, and had she was a coordinator of academic records for St. Mary's School of Extended Education. And one night at a dinner for the staff, I was there and I ran into the head of the it was a master's degree in leadership program. and we've been drinking and talking, and he says, so he says, what do you know about leadership? I said, everything I needed to know about leadership, they tried to teach me when I was in the Marine Corps when I was 18. And he says, well, if you're so smart, why don't you take my program? So I did. In the age of 65, I got a master's degree in leadership.
Wow.
All right.
I think
And I've,
oh, sorry.
right. And I teach leadership to volunteer organizations.
Oh,
If you also happen to look at the bio, I do a lot of volunteering. And even when I was a professional, I got in a lot of volunteering that helped me with my career, but also gave me a lot of personal satisfaction. Yeah.
I think you mentioned that you worked for Bechtel, the engineering company, and that's actually funny because my grandfather actually worked for the same company a while ago, and he did a lot of traveling to many different countries to work on different projects.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. One of the times I worked for them, they were the world's largest engineering construction company, and they built about 60% of all the nuclear power plants built in the United States were built by them. So, yeah, it was a lot. It was interesting working for them, but that was so different than work is now, right? I mean, I've been working out of my other bedroom for the last 12 years. No, last 14 years. And it works great. And I know more and more people that are looking to permanently work from home in the future. The one thing I can tell you, let's see, I started out, as I say, I worked for Bechtel as air pollution control. And then I went to Algeria as training chemist. Came back to air pollution control with Bechtel in San Francisco. Then went to Copenhagen. Then Bechtel recruited me back into Houston, where I was assistant chief nuclear environmental engineer. And then the economy slumped, and the Danish company recruited me back to be their manager of research and development. I did that for 2 more years. Then they basically sold me to a US company that made air pollution control equipment. And I worked for them until 1989. And then the same friend that taught me into going to work in Copenhagen in 1980 taught me into coming back up here and going to work for this English big engineering construction company that became a Norwegian one. And I worked there from 1989 until 2007. So, and each job, and it changed from air pollution control to waste management, to site cleanups, to health and safety on projects around the world, to how to minimize the damage mine sites do. So even though I started in one area, I moved around and was able to change and continue to grow. As I say, my last corporate position was director of worldwide. So I covered the whole world. It was exciting. It was fun. It was 150,000 miles a year on airplanes.
Wow.
So, yeah. So you,
Just out of curiosity, because I'm working for all these companies, what really got you, what like piqued your interest in the field of science, like chemistry and in environmental science?
From the time I was a kid, for some reason, I science kits and popular mechanics magazines and that kind of interest. I ended up in the Marine Corps being an electronics technician, teletypes, telephones, cryptographic equipment. And when I came out of just chemistry, started to be interest. That was the beginning. I helped organize the first Earth Day a presentation at Cal State Long Beach in 1970. And that's why I got involved in the environmental. I read a book, famous book, Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, which delved into the environmental damage we were doing with pesticides. And I just said, yeah. And got out of school, graduated from college, got a job at the Ventura County Sheriff's Department in their crime lab. realized within 4 months that wasn't what for me. So I quit and took a 3-month temporary job with Bechtel Power Corporation in the Mojave Desert at a flue gas desulfurization pilot plant. And 3 months later, I was running the night shift. And 3 months later, I was running a pilot plant. And that became my career until 1989. So a lot of luck, but a lot of being mature enough or educated enough or something and being wise enough to take advantage of opportunities, you know? So, and always wanting to see what's on the other hill. What's over the other hill? No.
What are some items on your bucket list?
Well, one is to see my granddaughter in Copenhagen get married. So that means I have to stay alive for quite a bit longer. Let's see, I've been to 6 out of the 7 continents, but I really have no desire to go to Antarctica. Yeah, I don't know. I play things year by year. I finished a bucket list last year item. Last year I went back, took a weekend and went back to Vermont for the fall colors in Vermont and to do some fly fishing. And that was the 50th pin on the map of the United States.
Wow.
All right. I would like to get my wife down to the Chileno Patagonia, the southern tip of Chile. It is incredible down there. So yeah, those are things I have in mind, right? And to get through this, and to live through this pandemic. Right? That's goal number. Bucket list number 1 is to live through the pandemic. Right? And that takes a lot of smart, careful behavior. Right? I say I gave this woman a ride today. Before she got in my car, she had to have a mask on. She had hand sanitizer. I just disinfected everywhere where she would touch. As soon as I dropped her off, I opened up the windows, drove down the road, stopped and sprayed disinfectant again. And, you know, so I'm trying to do what I can do, but be smart about it and live to see what my other bucket list will be. You know, used to be catching big fish, but I caught a 175-pound halibut a couple of years ago up in Alaska. Yeah, it's a big fish. So, yeah. Yeah. I guess at this point in my life, watch my kids and grandkids do well. Want to see my son. He wants to teach special ed in a small rural part of Montana. Not my idea where I want to be, but that's his. You know, we all have our journey through life, and we all take different paths. Right? And we all have to realize that roads can go every which way. And as the old poetry, you know, take the road less chosen. By the way, it can also get you in a lot of trouble. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, I can't say that I'm a big fisherman myself, but I know you said you really like fishing and you caught a really huge halibut. Where do you usually like to go to fish?
Well, Alaska's nice, but that gets expensive. Denmark, I caught my biggest trout ever in Denmark, and that was 16.5 pounds. In the U.S., I'll go to the High Sierras. There's a lake in the High Sierras called the Little Virginia Lakes that are up at 9,800 feet that I literally have been fishing those lakes for 70 years. All right. So I go up there, and when I do a lot of of meditation. And when I do my meditation, my vision in my mind is this one little Virginia lake, which is just gorgeous. 9,800 feet, snow-covered hills behind it, woods. And my mom's ashes are in that lake because that was her favorite lake to fish in. So, yeah. Right. So what do you guys like to do for sports or hobbies?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, I've actually been dancing since I was 2 years old. And I
Wow.
did competition dance and I got to do choreography and stuff like that. And that's something I really enjoy.
Oh, that's great. My wife was the coordinator for the LEAP program at St. Mary's, which is liberal arts education for dancing professionals.
Oh, that's so
'Cause,
cool.
yeah, so a lot of, I mean, they had they were doing it with dancers from Broadway, from Vegas, from the Bay Area, and from Los Angeles. Kind of neat program to get some of their life experience in to help them get a bachelor's degree. Because most dancers, you don't last that many years.
Yeah. That's,
And then but you've been a hard achiever for so many years. What do you do then the next step? So yeah, interesting. All right, someone else.
Go ahead, Misha.
Okay. So I play tennis as a sport, but I haven't been playing for too long. I've played like a lot of different sports, but I didn't say like that committed to one. I would like switch up. Like I've played soccer, volleyball, I've done gymnastics, and I currently also do like Kathak dance, which is like an Indian classical dance. And then I volunteer
Wow.
a lot. I volunteer with the Red Cross a lot. And then like I volunteer at hospital in Kaiser Hospital in Walnut Creek, and that's really fun. But I haven't been able to do a lot of that stuff obviously right now. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, when it all comes back, good. Have any of you done CERT training?
I
Does anybody know what CERT is?
Yes, I was going to do it, but then I wasn't able to. But yeah, I'm CPR trained, but
Yeah,
not.
because okay. Yeah, I've gone through CERT training and been active in the CERT program. So good for you. And last but not least,
Well, right now, sports-wise, I run track. I do short distance running. Long distance is not for me. And otherwise, from that, I really love music. I play guitar, and I also sing in my
wow,
school's choir. Yeah.
well, fantastic.